On we go. So this is the bottom of Mem Beis and Mud Beis. The subject was talking about Havchana and nothing to do with yevamos at this point. The Mishnah had said that besides the yevama having to wait 3 months in order to do yibum or chalitza, it also said a kol hanashim, that all women have to wait 3 months in order to discern. And the Gemara Esther came out there. Two halachas besides that, also halacha about a woman who's muberes or menika. Even if you know the blood, is also you have to wait in order that the nursing child shouldn't lose out from his mother to nurse. But Mishnah, then the Gemara went into the point about Erison, that Erison is no relations. So she's not going to become pregnant. And this halacha of Avchana, in order to discern between the two fathers, who is the child, so it's not, it shouldn't be necessary. It's only going to be Erison. Either if the first marriage was Erison or the second marriage was Erison, so there was no relations, no problem with confusion of the child. But the Mishnah was a machlokis. If you make a lo plug, Tanakama said lo plug. We don't differentiate, make it straight across the board. It's also even Erison to Nesuin to Erison, probably even Erison to Erison also. And Rabbi Yossi, Abu, both of them said that there's no lo plug and it's mutter. And at the end of the machlokis, the Mishnah was about avelos. That don't forget that there's a problem about avelos. That if she's a widow, she can't get married because she has to wait 30 days in order for the mourning period to pass. But yesterday the Gemara was in the middle of who you paskin like as far as this low plug, and the Gemara brought down, where's that? The one number days brought out that Rabbi Yochanan first paskin like Rabbi Yossi, that there's no low plug, that there's mutter to do erison because there's no consummation of the marriage, so there's no chash of knowing who the father is. We know who the father is, and the kasha was he passed like Rabbi Yossi. It's why should he pass like Rabbi Yossi? There's a Mishnah that Tanakama says it's asa. So first the Gemara said that it's a das yachid, it's only Rav Meir. The Gemara brought a brayso that showed that it's only Rav Meir, so we passed like a Yossi against Rav Meir. And then the Gemara said that Yochanan retracted because he found the brayso that says that it's not only Rav Meir, it's the Chachamim Aker B'Yavna, that it's the Chachamim, a Tzibur, a Rov. So therefore he paskins like the Tanakama that it's Aser, even Erison. The Gemara Kasha at the end, that's what we're up to now, that Rabbi Yochanan paskin in general like a Stam Mishnah. And how come it doesn't pass like the Stam over here? That said this opinion of the Tanakama said without any name, it's called the Stam. You should pass like that. And the more answer is Stam B'Achkach Machlokes, since right away it says that Rabbi Yossi Abu argue, so we don't pass like the Stam, and therefore Rabbi Yochanan was able, at least temporarily, until he found out that it's a Rabbim, he was able to pass like Rabbi Yossi. But the Maisi he paskin at the end he paskin like the Karen B'Yavna, he paskin that it is also a low plug. But now the Gemara goes on for about half a page. The Gemara talks about the subject about a Stam Mishnah, which came in Agav over here. It's not the main subject anymore, but the Gemara is going to have a elaboration about this thing about a Stam Mishnah, that if there's a Mishnah without any name, it's presented, Rebbe presented it Stam, maybe that means to say that you're passing like that Mishnah. So we're on Mem Beis with base 6 lines from the bottom. Mestamech v'azil Rabbi Avo akasvei Rabbi Nachum Shamei. Rabbi Avo was walking, leaning on the shoulder of Rabbi Nachum, his shamash. He had a assistant. His name was Rabbi Nachum, also a Talmud Chacham, and he was helping him. He was walking next to him. So you're going for a walk, and the shamash of Nachum was a Talmud Chacham. So he asked questions of Rabbi Avo. Mankit was halachas aminei, and Rabbi Nachum was collecting halachas from him. He was asking him different questions, and he got the answers. If you have two Mishnayos, one of them says a machlokes, 2 opinions, and then afterwards it says an opinion without any name. Does that mean you paskin like? Do you have any halacha who you paskin like? So he said halacha kistam, machlokes b'achkach stam. Since first the machlokes was mentioned, and then it ended off with a stam, with a blank. How would you say that blank? But I don't know how to say it stam. That it doesn't have any name. It's brought down as a given. So then you could assume the halacha is like that stam, even though there was a machlokes mentioned earlier. But then the stam mishnah halacha is going to be like the stam. How about the opposite? Stam v'yachkach machlokes. Why the first the mishnah brought down the stam opinion, and then it brought down the one who argues? Amalei ayin halacha kistam. Then you don't pass like I said before that machlokes stam v'yachkach machlokes. You don't pass like the stam. You pass like the machlokes. A third question: how about if you have some of the masnis and the machlokes with brisa? That in the mishnah if it says the din without any machlokes, it just says it as a given of Stam Mishnah, but you find in the Brisa there's a machlokes. It's not going to mean that you should pass on like the Brisa because it brings down a machlokes. He said no. That Stam Mishnah pass like a Stam Mishnah even if you find in the Brisa there's a machlokes. And the opposite machlokes with masisin of Stam of the Brisa. How about the Mishnah brings down 2 opinions, and in the Brisa you find that there's just one binyan brought down without a name. Amalei v'chi Rebbe lo shana Reb Chia minayin lo. We don't trust the brisa of Reb Chia. Reb Chia is the one who authored the brisa. Rebbe is the one who edited the Mishnayos. So Rebbe was the Rebbe of Reb Chia, and we're not going to rely on Reb Chia more than Rebbe. So if Rebbe only said it as a stam Mishnah, is that the case? No, the opposite. That the Mishnah was a machlokus. What was the case we just said? Machlokus b'vas nisan and a stam of a brisa. So we're not going to rely on the psak of Reb Chia to say that we pass like the stam. Then we just look at it like a machlokus. So he asked him 4 questions: machlokus v'achkach stam, stam v'achkach machlokus, machlokus in the brisa, stam in the Mishnah, machlokus in the Mishnah, and stam in the brisa. And in general, he said you pass him like this machlokus v'achkach stam, but only if it's a Mishnah. But if it's a brisa, we don't. The Mishnah is stronger than the brisa, and therefore you just look at the Mishnah. But now the Gemara has a kasha from a Mishnah in Kalim, which I'm not sure why the Mishnah only found this Mishnah. We have many such Gemaras maybe, but I found a Mishnah, and the kasha is going to be that there's a stam Mishnah we don't pass them like. It doesn't go into the whole issue about machlokes before, after, when a brisa. It just brings down a stam Mishnah, means that it says halacha without any names, which we could assume that it should be a stam Mishnah, pass them like it, and we don't pass them like it, like left field, like nothing to do with anything we're talking about. There's a stam Mishnah that doesn't say any name, and we don't pass them like it according to your rules that we should pass like a stam Mishnah. So how come we don't pass them like that? Amalei Vatana in the Mishnah. So we'll learn something about Kalim. Over there, the whole Masechta is called Masechta Kalim. And what does that mean? That in order to be vulnerable to Tumah, a Kli has to be a Kli, has to be a usable, functional Kli. And unlike today, if anything breaks today, throw in the garbage. And nobody's going to fix it. No such thing as fixing nowadays. But in those days, and no such thing is using a broken Kli. But in those days, they used it until it was unusable. And the Gemara whole Masechta talks about how much is a broken Kli still considered functional and it should be Mekabel Tumah. I think that whole Masechta would change nowadays. It would be like one Mishnah that would say, Kol HaKelim Shenishberu is not Mekabel Tumah.
No, the Rebbe, yesterday or 2 days ago, my wife, we had a beautiful washing cup. It was beautiful. I bought it well done. She dropped it and it was a little hanging, and I took my crazy glue.
And you fixed it.
Brand new.
Okay,
nice.
okay.
For 90 shekel, I wasn't going to buy it. It's right. It's perfect.
Okay, so some things we still fix. So this is what I was talking about over there, and it wants to know about it's about a comb. A comb. How many teeth of the comb break, and you're still going to use it? It could be nowadays also. If one tooth breaks, you'll still use it. But the case there.
Depends how strong the person is.
Okay. How much money he has? Combs are.
It's sentimental.
Here it's also talking about not a comb for somebody's hair. It's talking about a comb for combing flax or wool, the professional combs, and it talks about how many teeth are missing that it's still usable. So it starts off first talks about a masrik shel pishtan, then it talks about a masrik shel semer. So by pishtan, so the flax grows and you have to comb it in order to separate the fibers from the plant. So here it says shenitu shinav and ishtar boshtaim tmeis. As long as it has 2 teeth left, it's still tummy. It's still usable. It has a lot of teeth. All the teeth came out. You have 2 teeth left. It's still usable. Ba'achas tahora. If it only has 1 tooth left, then it's not usable. It has to have at least 2 teeth in order to be somewhat usable. The needle, the teeth themselves. First about the comb, but the teeth themselves, they are usable. The Gemara will talk about later on, but they're usable for. So the teeth themselves, the broken tooth of the comb is Mekabel Tumah because it's a functional teeth. They use it for something else. They're not going to use it for a comb anymore, but it still has a function, as we'll see later on. That's about a comb used to comb flax. How about a comb used to comb wool after they shear it off of the sheep? So it's very entangled, and you have to comb it. That's what they do nowadays. Also, you have to comb it in order to make it the fiber straight. So it's a harder combing because they're very entangled. So if every other tooth is missing, even though it has many teeth left, by the pishtan, as long as you have 2 teeth, it's okay. Here, even if every other one is missing, you have many teeth left at every other one, so then it's tough because it's too far apart from each other. It doesn't do a good job in untangling the wool, and therefore it's not Mekabel Tumah. If it has 3 teeth, 3 consecutive teeth, that's enough to be Mekabel Tumah. Right away, the Gemara is going to ask a kasha, how about 2? First, it says that if every other one is missing, which you don't have 2 in a row, it's tahor. Means smash but 2 in a row will be good enough. Here it says you have to have 3 consecutive ones in order to be Mekabel Tumah. The Gemara is going to ask the kasha soon. Even though we say that 3 teeth and a consecutive teeth are enough, but the outer teeth, we also have that same thing in a comb. Even though you have small, thin teeth of the comb, the outer ones, the 2 outer ones are very thick. That's how they usually make a comb. Those are not part of the combing process. It's only to hold the whole thing together. So that doesn't count. How does it go? If one of the three consecutive ones is the outer tooth, Torah, that doesn't count because it's not a usable tooth. And now talking about the teeth themselves. If two teeth came out, same way as the Mishnah in the beginning spoke about the teeth themselves that came out. Here it says that one tooth alone is each tooth alone is considered a usable cleat. Here it talks about if you have two. If you have two and you made them into a malak, and a malak is a kind of a tweezer, you made it a new contraption that took two teeth in order to be able to use them together as a joint kli. So then it's tamei. Achas v'eskina l'ner or l'mituach tmeya. If you even one tooth that you made that it should be used in order to adjust the wick in the lamp, yeah, made it as a usable tool. Also, all in mituach in order to stretch out when you have the threads, you want to be able to stretch the thread. You need a needle in order to catch it. So also, if you made it especially for that, then it also is mikabel tamei. So it's a whole Mishnah. This is one big Mishnah from Masrek until these 7-8 lines, and it's a stam Mishnah, no name, and you should pass like it. And we don't pass like it. That's the kasha before. Rabbi Yavo said pass like a stam Mishnah, and here there's a stam Mishnah. There are no names over here, and we don't pass like it. The kind of then it's a Mishnah. How come? Amalei. So Rabbi Yavo said to his shamish Rabbi Nachum Bar Minor Dahi. Take that away, then that's an exception. They said that it's not a good Mishnah, it's a mistake. Not that it's a Mishnah we don't pass like. It's a mistake. There's something wrong inherently. The Mishnah doesn't make sense, and therefore you have to erase it. My time, what's wrong with the Mishnah? It's a contradiction from the beginning of the Mishnah to the end of the Mishnah. Now we mentioned that as we were learning. How about if you have two teeth left over? We said that it says two and then it says three. The Kali shall say maybe a time tar. If it's missing every other tooth, it's tar because you have to have at least two teeth in a row consecutive in order that it should be a functional cleat. And here it says that two would be good enough. It's mashma. We could deduce from this Mishnah that if you have two teeth in a row, it would become a kabul tumah. Further to not tani nishtay but gimel tamei. Gimel and shtayim lo. But then the Mishnah says only kabul tumah if you have three consecutive teeth. But if you only have two, it's not enough. So the Mishnah itself is a contradiction, so that must be a mistake. But the Gemara says that wasn't just a problem. We could reconcile that. Well, my kusha, that's not a reason to erase the Mishnah. These are the inner ones, these are the outer ones. The word briyasa, you use the word brisa. Brisa means the outers, like it's not part of the Mishnahs. The word briyasa means outside, kaviyasa means inside. And Rashi says one shot that even though we said before that the extreme outer teeth are not considered teeth because they're very thick and they're not usable, they're not functional teeth for the purpose of combing. But they don't mean those ones. But the outer ones means when a person has a comb, he has a handle with a comb. It's not the comb we use for hair. It's like more of a brush kind of a thing that has a handle and it has you have to be rough on it in order to comb the flax or the semer. So there's those teeth that are opposite the handle, and that's like a lot of strength is over there, and over there two would be enough to for the process of combing. But if it will be towards the outer, so then you don't get such a strength on it over there. You have to have three teeth in order that it should do the job. So the more we wouldn't fall down from such a kasha that the Mishnah talks about two or three, sometimes two, sometimes three. It depends where it is on the comb. The inner ones, two is enough, and the outer ones, you have to have three. Over there also, the extreme outer ones, that's not counted, it's not the point, but the ones that are more on the outer side of the comb, maybe you have to have three. So that wouldn't be a reason to erase the Mishnah. A different reason of the Mishnah why we're going to show that it's a mistake. The Mishnah is not a real Mishnah. That the needles themselves, the teeth themselves, are makabel tumah because they're usable as is. The beginning of the Mishnah doesn't say you have to make it specially for that. It does says that if they fall out, the teeth are automatically makabel tumah. But the end of the Mishnah says that only if you made it specially for that. Iskina. If you have one of needle, if you made it, you used it, you adapted it now to be used as some kind of a poker for a lamp or to stretch the material, as we said, then it is makabel tumah, but it's mashma if you made it especially for that, iskina in low, iskina low. You might have wanted to answer that one is sema, one is pishtam, but the Gemara doesn't go for that answer. So the Gemara sees it as a contradiction. The ratio to the sefer, to the Mishnah, therefore you have to erase the Mishnah, not because it's the stam Mishnah on Pascha like the mistake. The Mishnah is a mistake. But again, the Gemara says not such a kasha. My kusha, that a reason to erase the Mishnah. When the tooth fell off, does it have a piece of the comb also? It means the tooth, and then it's connected to something. So if only the tooth fell off, the tooth of the comb alone, so then it's not so usable only if you designated it for that. Hiskina. But the Mishnah where it's mashma in the beginning that if it falls off, it's usable automatically. maybe that's because a piece of the comb also came together with it, so it's more easy to hold on to it, and that's the reason why it's mikabel tuma, even if you didn't designate it for that. So that's not a reason to erase the Mishnah. And another way to reconcile the Mishnah, Amar Papa or my kush, another reason why we can reconcile the Mishnah if you designated it to be used as a needle or not. Depends how thick the tooth is. A very thin tooth is not usable only if you designated it for it. But a thick tooth, they say, the Mefarshim say that it's usable as a stylus, I think you'd call it, when you want to write in wax. So you need some kind of a tool in order to be able to imprint. So over there, if it's if it has some thickness to it, it's able to be used for that. So that wouldn't be a reason to erase the Mishnah. So we're still back to the original kasha. Rav Nachum asked his Rabbi Avo, they have a stam Mishnah, you don't paskin like it, why not paskin like it? So far the Gemara tried to prove that the Mishnah doesn't make sense, but we didn't succeed in that. The Mishnah is readable, so why don't we paskin like it? It's a stam Mishnah. Because the dafkani means the people that are medayik very well, the precise recorders of the Mishnah, they have a gears over there to the Rabbi Shimon. That is not a stam Mishnah. Stam Mishnah means it doesn't have a name, but if it says a name, then it's not a stam Mishnah, not necessarily do we pass like it. So that's the end of the sugya, a whole little cruise that came in on the side, nothing to do with our sugya, but Mishnah, the Gemara mentioned before, the halacha about halacha kistam Mishnah, and we just mentioned there was a kasha that there's a stam Mishnah on paskan like. How come not? How come we don't paskan like it? And the Gemara comes out because it wasn't a stam Mishnah. In our gears, it says stam without any name, but it was dafkani. Dafkani means like dafka, those who are very dafka, very precise. So they did have a gears in the Mishnah of Zudibri Rabbi Shimon. That's the reason no paskan like it. End of the cruise, back home, back to the main subject about 3 months, that they're supposed to wait 3 months between marriage to marriage in order to discern the child. We shouldn't have any doubt when the child is born if it's from the first father, the first husband, or the second husband.
So that's halacha. Stam Mishnah, we pass like stam Mishnah.
Right. There might be exceptions sometimes, but in general, we do pass like a stam Mishnah. And here the Gemara said a chiddush that even in the same Mishnah we have no name and then it has a name. You pass like the no name, unless it's stam machlokes. So then, on the contrary, you pass like the machlokes, not like the stam. Back to the subject. So we had a machlokes that if it's only Erison means that they just had the kiddushin, which means they gave her money or a contract, but he didn't actually consummate the marriage. So there's no shash that she became pregnant from it yet. She just is married, but it's a betrothal, we would call it, but it wasn't a marriage. So that was machlokes in the Mishnah. And Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda said that it's mutter. Tanakama said that it's aser. If it has a question you pass like. So before the Gemara came out, Rabbi Yochanan did pass like Rabbanan. He found that it's Karen B'Yavne. It's a whole Rabbanan. But now Rabbi Rabban sent that it's mutter to have erison even within 3 months. Erison is not a problem. It sounds like he passes like Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda. The Chinos and Mai said that's the custom, that there is mutter to do erison, to do kedushin without the nisuin is mutter within 3 months. I'm a little bothered by the word v'chein. V'chein sounds like something similar to what I said before, but it doesn't sound to be similar at all. It's a new halacha that there's another way of counting the 3 months. It means even when you do have to count 3 months, the first halacha said that erison you don't have to count 3 months. There's no problem. You can get married. You could do a new marriage, not a consummation of the marriage, but do erison kedushin alone is mutter even within 3 months. But now he's talking about the whole when you do have to wait 3 months. Like by the suin that you have to wait 3 months, but the way to count 3 months is not after 90 days. You don't have to count the full 3 months. He says that if you go according to the lunar months and the rove, as long as it's going to be a majority of 1 month and then the middle month and then the majority of the third month will be enough to be considered 3 months, and she's allowed to get married. The Gemara is saying not like we would say nowadays that you need a trimester, you need 3 months in order to be able to recognize if she's pregnant or not. Yet the Gemara seems to say that it goes according to the lunar months, and if she became pregnant, if she had relations and she conceived, let's say on the 14th of the month, so by the 16th of the 2 months ahead means they should have most of this month. She'll have 16 days of this month, and then the whole next month, and then the next 16 days of the third month. That's enough to be considered 3 months, and if she doesn't look like she's pregnant, she'd be allowed to marry. The Gemara is going to come out soon, not like that, but this Gemara seems to say that recognition of that if she's pregnant in the Tanakh will be noticeable not in the full 90 days, even if it'll be rove of 1 month and then a middle month and then rove of the third month. Now talks about you do need 90 days. He doesn't hold this cooler that said a second ago that it's enough to have rove. You have to have a full 90 days. You count 90 days on the calendar, and he says on the 90th day it's mutter. He holds again that he seems to say that erisin is aser means that we keep on jumping onto the erisin, that if it's only erisin and it's not nesuin, is it's not to say that it's mutter completely because there's not going to be any confusion of the vlad. They didn't have relations. But he holds like the Rabbanan that say that it's aser to have erisin also. But he says that the day 90 is okay. Day 90, they're allowed to already get married. That's called 3 months. Did I skip something over here? No. You're saying different than you. You're saying that it's mutter on day 90. Rav and Shmuel, both of them said that she has to wait a full 3 months, and the 3 months doesn't count the day that she became a widow, means the day of the husband's death doesn't count, and also the day that she's going to get married doesn't count. You have to have a full 90 days, means altogether you have to have 92 days. If you include the day of the death and the day that she's going to get married, it has to be 92 days. The day of the death doesn't count, and the day of the marriage doesn't count. You have to have a full 90 days in between. How are you permitting to get married on day 90? So he said that was a misquote. They didn't talk about the 3 months. That wasn't talking about 3 months waiting period. That was talking about the 24-month waiting period. It means we said besides the din of the 3 months, in order to be mavchin, in order to discern who's the father, is also another din. Even if she's pregnant or she's nursing, pregnant means she's going to become to nurse, and we were concerned of the baby that she's going to give birth to, that we don't want her to become pregnant again while she's nursing, because then she's going to stop nursing, and then the child's not going to have milk. So we said, don't get married until after the child finishes nursing. 24 months after he's born, he used to nurse for 2 years, and therefore wait till after the 2 years. And that Rabbi Shmuel said you have to wait till mamish 24 months. Over there, by that halacha, not by the din of 3 months. The din of 3 months, it's enough to get married. The erison could be on the day of the day 90, it could be the wedding day. But by the din of 24 months, that she has to wait until the child is full 2 years old before she gets married. Over there, meant to say that besides the birthday of the child and besides the day that she's getting married, you have to have a full 2 years. We would call that, it has to be that he's what it's going to be. It's going to be a full, even more than 2 years old. Not on the 2-year birthday. Besides the day that he was born, and also besides the day she's getting married, so it's going to be 2 days after his birthday. If I got it right, I think so. That you have to have the full 2 years plus the day, besides the day that he was born, and besides the day she's getting married. Over there, he said you have to wait the full 2 years plus 2 days. But on the din of 30 days of 3 months to discern who the father is, over there we're not so makbid. On the day 90, she can get married already. But the Gemara is the kasha of who David Sudas Erison B'Yom Shtishin V'Avsei Rabba Sudas that Rabba seems to say differently. Rabba, it was a wedding that they made on the 90th day. The woman was remarrying, and they made the wedding to be on day 90. And Rabba said no wedding, called off the wedding, and the meal went to the garbage. Okay, maybe they gave it out, but it means they have to make another wedding. They didn't use yesterday's food. They didn't use yesterday's food for the wedding. So he said that he called off the wedding. You have to push it off until they have a full 2 days. That besides the day of the death and besides the death of the wedding. So who sued this Nesuin boy? No, that was the case where she wanted to get Nesuin. It wasn't a suit the Erison. Erison was when they just do the Kiddushin. He gives a ring, so then that could be on day 90, like Amemra said. But Nesuin not.
Just thinking about why the Chal you need to wait 3 months for the Erison itself.
The low plug. That's the issue of low plug.
But the Erison might come to Nesuin.
They make not it might come. That if she say Erison is mutter, they'll do Nesuin also. They're not going to differentiate. Any Gezerah, like always make a Gezerah.
Yeah, but with Man Chazal was generally wasn't the same.
But they'll say that, no, not because they're going to do it, but if they'll say that you're allowed to do Erison, people will say you're allowed to do Nesuin also. They're not going to differentiate between the two. They'll say you're allowed to get married. Like the word marriage, we got married. So they don't make a difference between Kedushin and Nesuin. And that's also because then it's going to be a problem of discerning who the Vlad is. But after all this, the Gemara Paskins, L'chumran, all these things, Ve'ilchasa, Tzvichel Hamtin Chav Dalet Chodesh, Chutz Miyom Shenoled Bo, Chutz Miyom Shenesar Sebo, Tzvichel Hamtin Gimel Chadashim, Chutz Miyom Shemeis Bo, Chutz Miyom Shenesar Sebo. So first of all, as far as the Machlokas of Erison and Nesuin, we go L'chumra, like the Chachamim, Keren V'Yavna, and it's also even by Erison, not only by Nesuin, even by Erison, even though there's no problem on Maisa, but it's Erison not to Nesuin, and also there's no difference both by the 24 months that she has to wait in order to make sure that the child is going to have the full nursing period, and she's not going to become pregnant during that time. The new husband is not going to agree to pay for maternity and things like that. So we're choshesh for that, even by Erison, and even to get married Erison, and even on day 24, besides the day of the birthday of the child, and also the day of the marriage has a full 20. So the marriage is going to be, even the Erison is only going to be 2 days after the child's second birthday, And also, if there's Gimel Chadash, whenever you have to wait 3 months in order to discern between the first husband and the second husband, whose child it is, also you have to wait even by Erison, and also besides the day of the death and the date of the wedding, you have to have a full 90 days.
So if there's an extra other, then he's not 2 years old.
No, so I made a mistake. It's not wrong for me to say the birthday because you're right. The other comes in, so it means 24 months. Because the nursing period doesn't go according to if it's so probably 24 months means 24 months, and you're right. Okay, so that comes at a big chumrah. And as far as Afghana probably doesn't have so much, the 3-month waiting period probably doesn't happen too much. People don't have a problem with that, to wait 3 months between marriage. But the issue about Mubarak, even if she's only pregnant and now her husband died or divorced her, that she can't get married again until she gives birth, and plus another 2 years plus 2 days. So there might be posting to talk about it nowadays because maybe there are differences nowadays with the maternal and things like that. Maybe it's not such an issue. And people don't nurse no nurses come out. No, they're very hard to find people that nurse 2 full years. So maybe the post can talk about it halacha l'maisa, but in the Shulchan Aruch it's going to say that it's awesome.
But the story I know, it's not only the nursing, it's that they.
So the question is if that halach is what Chazal meant or not. Did Chazal mean some freak story that they didn't take care of the child enough because it's a new husband that's not his child? I don't know. But then halach just
more to babysit instead of being home. It's not.
Okay, they talk about this. Someone said that my Chavusha told me that some of the posts can talk about since the main concern here is the child. We want the child, so sometimes it's better for the child that his mother should have a husband. Besides the problem about the materna, it's better that she can't handle by herself. So maybe it's better she can manage. So maybe it's better that she should get married. This is already poskim that contemporary poskim that not so contemporary. It's a couple of generations also. They spoke about it already. Not only this generation. That's the question. If what the Gemara says, how to apply it nowadays. Okay, but halachically, that's how the Gemara comes out. That there's a din of avchana to discern who the father is, and there's also a halacha of waiting 24 months after the child is born in order to make sure that he doesn't lose out from his nursing 2 years. Okay, the rest of the sukkah is going to be now about velos, mourning. That it said in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yossi said that, wait a second, that besides everything else about avchana, also there's an issue about if she's an almana, if she's a widow, so her husband dies, she can't get married for 30 days. Right. So he said that even though we say as far as avchana, it might not be a problem of erison, and to get erison alone, she's only going to have betrothal, she's not going to have a marriage, not going to consummate the marriage. So there's no chash about the confusion of who's the father is. But don't forget that there's a problem about avelos that you have to wait 30 days. She can't get married to not 3 months, but she has to wait 30 days after the death of her husband in order to remarry. If she only got divorced, she can't marry right away. Erison. And she won't do the nisuin until 3 months. But if she's a widow, she can't do even erison until 3 or 30 days later. What's the kasha from the halachas about Tisha B'Av? That you see over there that it is mutter to do erison. Omer Rav Chisda, kal v'chomer. Yes, that's in kasha. Kal v'chomer should be a kal v'chomer. Uma b'makom she'asa l'cha b'is mutter le'oris. B'makom she'mutter l'cha b'is enodin she'mutter le'oris. That shvur shechol. What the custom of us nowadays is from Rosh Chodesh Av. But the Gemara says the Mishnah halacha is shvur shechol, that the week the Tisha B'Av falls out in, it's also to wash clothing. And the Sfardim do like that. The Mechaber, they don't have 9 days. They have the shvur shechol. So, but it says, even though it's also to wash clothing, but it's mutter to do erison. A man would be allowed to do erison during the week of Tisha B'Av.
Really? That's the halacha.
That's the halacha. We'll see even more than that, but that's the halacha. It says here that they're mutter to have erison. So it's not considered such a big simcha. They're allowed to have erison, even shavua shecholbo. So that's the kasha. How could it say? Yossi holds that it's also to have erison by an almana. Almana is not as chamor. They were more machmer. That's us even to wash. Almana, it's only also to wash clothing during shiva. But after that, it's mutter to wash. That's the Gemara's kasha. How can it be that almana is also to do erison if even by shavua shecholbo, the week of Tisha B'Av, it's mutter to do erison, even though it's also to wash clothing? So by almana, when she's a widow and it's mutter to wash clothing after shiva, during the 30 days she's mutter to wash clothing. How can it be that it's also to do erison? Kasha Rabbi Yossi. Mahi, how do we know that it's mutter to? Where do we see it's mutter to do erison during the week of Tisha B'Av? The Tanan Shabbos Shechal Tisha B'Av Liyas B'Sofa. The week that Tisha B'Av falls out. It doesn't mean Shabbos. It means the week. The week that Tisha B'Av falls out on. Also l'sapo l'chabis. It's also to take a haircut and to wash clothing. Let's make a little parentheses over here. Some things are like just not to lose the flow. V'chamishi muter mipnei kvod Shabbos. that on Thursday it is mutter, even though the whole week is also, but Thursday is mutter. That means if Tisha B'Av came out on Friday, so you would be allowed to wash the clothing and take a haircut on Thursday before. Nowadays, doesn't happen. Doesn't come out Tisha B'Av on a Friday. But if it would, theoretically, so it says it's mutter to take a haircut and to wash clothing on Thursday, we covered Shabbos.
We have times that Tisha B'Av comes out on Shabbos, then Tisha B'Av for Sunday,
Yes.
right? So that's Friday.
So you want to say that you should be allowed? It's not called. Pashas is not called Shvuah Shecholbo. That year there's no Shvuah Shecholbo. There is no Shvuah Shecholbo.
To ride from this tomorrow.
Maybe.
Right.
No. Well, no.
If
No.
Friday
No.
does
No.
not count.
No. Or the halacha would be that we would be allowed to take a haircut on Friday. Vitanya, and we learned the bride. So far, we don't know about getting married, Erison. But Vitanya, Kodem Mazman Hazeh, Ha'am Martin Biscayin, Melissa Malitin, Melivus Valentoa. But Arsin. Here it says before the Kodem Mazman Hazeh. Before that, doesn't say first what it's talking about. The Gemara assumes that it means before Tisha B'Av. Before Tisha B'Av, which again means the week of Tisha B'Av. The people are supposed to minimize their work. Iskayim, they're supposed to do less work. Melissa Malita in businesses do less business. Melivnos Valentoa from building and from planting. But then it says Arsin, that it is permissible to do erison, that it's mutter to, I don't have a word, it's not a good word, but betrothal, is that what they call it nowadays? Nowadays, there's no real difference between Kedushin and the Suin, but I'm looking for the word, say it in English, but I don't have it, so we'll say Kedushin. Kedushin again, erison, Kedushin, it all means to give her money, a pruta, raise Aku Kadeshasli, but they didn't yet live together. That's the second stage of marriage, that they consummate the marriage, they live together. So erison just means that they are Kedushin, okay?
The real word really would be engagement. But
No, it's not. It's not. Engagement is nothing. Engagement is just that we decide to get married. That's a decision. That's nothing. And they made a big problem in the Hebrew language that they call erison and engagement. It's a big problem. People get confused. The children, they learn, they get all confused. There's erison, thinking means engagement. And it's not. I once heard a drasha, a posek. He said his personal experience, he was a Rebbe, or about a Rebbe, that he learned Maseches Kedushin, and the first day he told everybody, erison does not mean engagement. Erison means Kedushin, and it doesn't mean engagement. And then the last day of the year, one of the students he asked the kasha about the engagement. Erison, he said, like, the whole year I'm teaching my whole Masechta the whole year, and I didn't get one point across. They said if I get, but that's a mistake that the Hebrew language made nowadays. The modern Hebrew they call erison, that means engagement. They should call it shidduchim. They should call it shidduchim. It does mean shidduchim. It does means that we're tanoim. We are engaged to get married. But that's not erison. But the Gemara calls erison. It's the actual giving of the ring, and she's a Eishes. She needs to get after that. If they decide after giving of the ring that they want to stop, even if they didn't have to consummate the marriage, they need to get.
Wow.
So nowadays they have it all together, one after the next, right away. But
the
plate is just engagement. That's a garnish. That's a garnish. Okay. Anyway, here it says that during Shvuah Shecholbo, even though here we want usher l'sapo l'chabes, that it's usher to take a haircut and to wash the clothing, but it's ma'arsin, it's mutter to do kiddushin. So that was most kasha. If it's mutter to do kiddushin, even over there, sekal v'chomer by an almana, a widow should be allowed to have kiddushin during the 30 days. Although Konsin, it says he's not allowed to do the Konsin is in the sunnah that you actually consummate the marriage. They know to the Saracen, don't make a suda, even though Erison is mutter, but don't make a party. Just the actual giving of the ring, but not the party. Anyway, that's the Gemara's kasha. The kasha is, how could you say that it's usher for an almana to do Erison? She should be mutter kal v'chomer from Shavuot Shecholbo. The Gemara answers, Kitanya he kodem the kodem. He says, no, that's not a kat. It doesn't say that. We made a mistake. It says, Kodem Mazman is that. We thought that means before Tisha B'Av. We thought that it means the week of Tisha B'Av. No, it means before that. Kodem the Kodem means before the week of Tisha B'Av. From Rosh Chodesh, it'd be mutter to take the marriage. But during the week, you're not allowed to marry. So it's not a kasha, the alman is the same. But the Morris Laza kasha, Amrava, but Kodem the Kodem Nami Kavachomer. Even if it's going to be mutter from Rosh Chodesh Av, it's also going to be a kasha because Rosh Chodesh Av is more chamor than a regular widowhood. And if it's mutter from Rosh Chodesh to do erison, it should be mutter for almana also to do erison. That it is more chomer than a widow because a widow doesn't have enough to do business for 30 days. She's allowed to do during that vela. She's allowed to do business only during Shiva it's also. But after that, the whole shloshim, it is permissible to do business. And Rosh Chodesh Av is more chomer because over there it says that they're not supposed to do business. They're supposed to minimize business from Rosh Chodesh, and still it's mutar le'ores. So the kasha would be again, same kasha over again. That how could it be that Rav Yossi says that you're not allowed, that almana is not allowed to do erisin? So the Gemara, this is big kasha. This is the kasha. The Gemara asked, the Gemara tried to ask it from here, tried to ask it from here, holding by a kasha. How could it be that Rav Yossi holds that an almana, a widow, is not allowed to do kedushin? Lo tema the Rav Yossi omer kol nashim yisasu. Change the Mishnah. It doesn't say that. Elaim kol nashim yinasu. You're right. To do erisin alone would be mutter. He wouldn't say that as sasa, but it's talking about to get married, to consummate the marriage. You know, that's erisin and the suin. So change the gear. So don't say yisasu, say yinasu. That's what the Mishnah means to say. That's the problem of veils, that a widow cannot do nisuin. So everything's good. That it's not mutter to do erisin. That's like
Where's the word kedushin coming down?
the word kedushin is erisin.
Oh.
Whenever it says erisin, it means kedushin.
Oh.
And I was saying that the word nisuin, the change the word of erisin doesn't say kedushin. It says nisuin. And it's only us in the suin. There's no issue of erisin. That's like it's put by Tisha B'Av, the Shavuot Shecholbo, from Rosh Chodesh, even Shavuot Shecholbo. It's over there, it's mutter to do erisin. And here, by the woman, it's also mutter to do erisin. It's only us that to do the suin. That's how the Gemara is explaining of Yossi. It's not going to work. The Gemara's going to try hard. This is the first the Gemara's trying. The Gemara's Kasha, according to that, it says, Kol Anashim Yinasu. It says all women are allowed to do the suin except for an almana. Means all women, means even someone's already been married completely, a regular and a sua, and now her husband died. And not died. Her husband got divorced her, so she's allowed to even do nisuin. That means that you can have a woman that's from nisuin to nisuin, and you don't have to wait 3 months. That's how you're reading the Mishnah now. If you change the gears from erisin to nisuin, it says kol nashim yinasu plus ben almana. All women means all women, even if they had nisuin, they're allowed as long as she's not an almana. Means her husband divorced her. So then it'll be mutter for her to do nisuin again. That means you're going to have 2 relations within 3 months. You're not going to know who the father is. But let's lay Rav Yossi al Hafkin. He doesn't hold that didn't have to wait 3 months. First of all, tries Leslie. He doesn't hold the argument, the whole thing. The Tanakhama says it's us to even erisin to even erisin. Rav Yehuda permits erisin to nisuin to erisin, and Rav Yossi permits even nisuin to nisuin. He just says that watch out for availus. Make sure that she doesn't marry nisuin during 30 days. But there's no problem about avchana. Ibo Yisema, or I can say different. That Yossi also agrees with us in nisuin to nisuin. All the mislay, he holds that you have to have avchana. Rav Yossi Amakala Wusisi Grushas Yinasu. That he means to change the gear, so not kol anoshim yinasu. We changed 2 words. Before it says kol nashim yisarsu, and the was going to change 2 words. Instead of saying all women could have erisin, that caused a problem about almana. There's no issue of almana either. So we're going to change it to kol rusos yinasu. All women, and it means except for an almana. That if she's a grusha and only erisin to nisuin, we're going to permit her. The same way Rav Yehuda permits. Rav Yehuda permits erisin to nisuin to erisin. Rav Yossi also permits erisin to nisuin, but he says that if she's going to get nisuin, she shouldn't be an almana. If she's an almana, she can't do nisuin because that the Gemara does agree that nisuin is also because of mourning. The mourning it doesn't allow nisuin; it only allows erisin. But if Rav Yossi is going to talk about erisin, then it makes sense that he holds that there's no issue of an arusa to marry, except if she's an almana because of avelos. But then the Gemara says, Yachani Rav Yehuda, then there's no machlokes going on. It's interesting because in the Mishnah also we thought there's no machlokes, that Rav Yehuda says erisin to nisuin to erisin is mother. Rav Yossi says the same thing. She says, don't be concerned about avelos. Here the Gemara doesn't think that Rav Yehuda is going to argue on the point of avelos. Before he could have argued maybe, it says no problem of avelos. But that would be the machlokes. But the Gemara says Rav Yossi also doesn't know that the problem of avelos, and we changed now, we're talking about nisuin. Now the Gemara doesn't accept that Rav Yehuda is going to say that there's no problem of avelos. Surely a woman is not allowed to marry nisuin, complete marriage, within 30 days of her death of her husband. So that's not going to be a machlokes. Rav Yehuda is also going to agree about that. So what are they arguing about? Both of them say the same thing. Both of them say that as long as one of the marriages was only erisin, they could marry erisin to nisuin or nisuin to erisin. Would be mutter. So what's the machlokes? Yachi, Rav Yehuda. So the Gemara says, Egibenayu nisua le'ores. Rav Yehuda sav nisua materos le'ores. Rav Yossi sav nisua asua le'ores. That even though you might have thought that Rav Yehuda says either one is okay, as long as one of the marriages was not a complete marriage, only was erisin, either she was an arusa to do nisuin or nisua to do erisin. That's okay because they're not going to be 2 seeds. It's not going to be a question of who's the father. But Rav Yossi says that he's more machmir by a woman who's already married to do le'ores. He's going to, because of Afghan, he made Xer one way. I'm not sure why this one is more reason to be machmir than the other way, but arusa, he holds, could get married, nisuin mamish, except for a problem about almana fa'avelos. But the argument in the din of Avchana, maybe they didn't make Xer every nesua should not do Erusin. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's okay. Since the second marriage is only going to be Erusin, it's okay. According to Rabbi Yossi, no, that the first marriage was in the Nesua. We don't allow that the second marriage should be even Erusin. That the Gemara is going to try to figure out if that could work. Could it be that Rabbi Yossi holds that a Nesua is not allowed to do Erusin? For some Rabbi Yossi Nesua Asur Le'oris, could you say that that's Machlokes? Rabbi Yossi is being machmir and says that this we're not going to allow a Nesua if she's been married to the first husband, complete marriage, and there is semen over there. It could be that she had relations before he died or before he divorced her, and now she can't even do Erusin. But Tanya Biosi, so far it's okay. Same words as our Mishnah. We better do surgery on our Mishnah. We'll do surgery on this Mishnah also. But how long is Avelis? 30 days. Fine, still good. The Bryce ends off a little bit more than the Mishnah says. It says that they should not get married until they're 3 months. So the more this is a kasha. The more is asking, you can't say, let's highlight this to see what the concentrate of what we're talking about. Here it said, a little different color over here. Here the Bryce said, we want to say Nesua Le'aris. We want to know if Rabbi Yossi holds in Nesua Asua Le'aris. That's what we're looking for. Is it possible to say if Yossi holds that a Nesua is not allowed to do everything? Here in the Bryce it says, Kol Anashim Yisarsu Chosman Almana Lepnei Ha'ibol Kam Ibol Shloshim Yom, and then it says Kulam Lo Yinasim. And the more is going to analyze the Bryce if it's possible to put in that the Yossi holds that a Nesua is not allowed to do everything. Behind my question, what's the problem? What do you see? What's the concept in this Bryce? So what do you see that you're rejecting the possibility that the Yossi holds Nesua as Asur Le'aris? Even the Tani Rabbi Yossi Kol Anashim Yisarsu, that it says that everything is mutter. It is mutter to do everything. That's not a problem. We did surgery on the Mishnah. We'll do surgery on the Brisa also. Mi alim and masnis in the kingdom of Arusas Grushos Yinasu. Fachinami call Arusas Grushos Yinasu. Change the Mishnah. We change the Mishnah. Change the Brisa also. That when it says that Roshi says in the Su is not allowed to call Anashim Yisarsu, it doesn't mean call Anashim Yisarsu. It means call Arusos Yinasu. Is that what we did? Yes. Call Anashim Yisarsu. We said that it means Arusas Yinasu. We wanted to say at this point, that there's no problem of Avelos by Eris. That's the main thing that's pushing us. But we found that it's wanted to do Avelos wouldn't cause a person not to do Eris. That was the whole problem. Because of that, we changed the Mishnah. That when it says Kol Anashim Yisarsu, except for an Almana, change it. It doesn't mean that. It means Kol Arusos Yinasu, except for an Almana for Avelos. That Almana can't do Avelos by Nesuin. Kol Rusos Yinasu. So far, that wouldn't be a problem. The Brisa says, Kol Nashim Yisarsu, change it to Kol Rusos Yinasu. That wouldn't be a problem. Hachanami, Kol Rusos Grushos Yinasu. So that wouldn't be the problem yet. What is the kasha? Elami Sefer. Because after that, it says, Diktani V'kulam Lo Yinasu V'achul Langimul Chadashim, that Rabbi Yoshi says, first it said again, Kol Rusos Yinasu. Then he says, V'kulam Lo Yinasu Achil Len Shlosha Chadashim. What does that mean? He says that they shouldn't do Nesuin. Who shouldn't do Nesuin? We said a second ago that Arusa could do Nesuin. So when it says here that they should not do Nesuin, what are you talking about? We can't be talking about an Arusa. In Suvi Yudalo has Sarusi Shapradami. You can't say that when it says Kulan Lo Yinasu, you can't say it's talking about 1 second, please. We changed the Mishnah to say Kol Rusos Yinasim. Kol Rusos Yinasim. And then it says V'kulam Lo Yinasim. And he's talking about Nesuos, because if it would have been Arusas, he says Arusas could be Nesuos. Yeah, that's how it goes. We said a second ago, Yossi holds, we changed the mission, we said that he holds that Rusos could do Nesuim. Kol Arusas Yinasim, except for Avelos. Kol Arusas Yinasim. Now it says V'kulam Lo Yinasim. Who's Lo Yinasim? Not Arusos, because we said Arusos could do Nesuim. So when it says Kulam Lo Yinasu, it's talking about Nesuos. And what does it say about them? Nesuos Lo Yinasu. But that means Nesuos could be Misares, could do Erisin. So you can't say that he holds that the Nesuos are Asur Le'aris. You want to say, why Machlok said with Rabbi Yossi, that he holds that it's only, Rabbi Yehuda is the one who holds that only Nesuos is Asur Le'nase. But we want to say Rabbi Yossi's argument holds even more, that even Nesua is not allowed to even do Erison. But the Brisa says not like that. The Brisa only says that a Sasa for Nesua is only to do Nesuin. So that would be so that's the most kasha on this terrace. And so we use the law, so Rabbi says, okay, we'll do surgery on that also. No problem. We'll do surgery on the ratio, do surgery on the safe, change everything around. We changed that already. That she has a problem of Avelis because she can't do Nesuah now. And the Kama evil, that's fine. 30 days is Avelis. And then don't say, say, stick in that the Nesuos cannot do Erisin. The Nesuos cannot do Erisin. Not that it says, at this point, the Gemara is happy. There's a lot of surgery, both on the ratio, the safe. We changed everything, made a home We changed everything around in order to answer the kasha that how could the Yoshi say that a woman is not allowed, a widow is not allowed to do Erisin? There's no problem of Avelis to do Erisin. We see by Tisha B'Av it's mutter. So how could it be that it's asa? So the Gemara says, you're right, there's a lot of new Erisin. Yoshi is only arguing asa to do Nesuin. And according to that, you have to change the whole Mishnah around and say that he's arguing on Yehuda as far as Rusa Li Nase. The Arusa Linase. I have to get it again. I'm sorry, I keep on losing it. That Arusa Linase Kalanashim Yisarsen. Abuda holds that also with them. That's what they're arguing about. That we're also going to be mach, but that the Nesua cannot do Erison. That's how the Gemara is going to so far tries to learn the Mishnah in order to answer the kasha. And there is a machlokes between Abuda and Abyosi. But the Gemara now throws the bombshell on the whole thing. The whole shot doesn't make sense. Valmana mina erisin mi isla evil. The way you're learning, you're saying that when it's in the Mishnah that she should not get married because of Avelis, Arusa linase. Arusa's grushos yinasu chutz mina evil. So a woman who was her first marriage was erisin, and now she wants to do nesuin. She can't, because she has to wait 30 days for Avelis. That doesn't make sense, because a woman who became a widow from Erisin, there is no din to have Avelis on her husband. They're not married enough that she has to mourn on her husband. Like we had this already a couple of days ago. Almana min Erisin misla evil. She's not in a mourning state at all. But Tani Rabbi Chia bar Ami Ishto Abusa lo onev lo mitamila. V'chein hi lo onenes lo mitamilo. We don't need all that. You just need the beginning that if there's only a relationship of Erison, so it doesn't cause that they're so related that they should have to mourn for each other if one of them dies. If a man's Arusa died, he doesn't have Avelis on her, and if he dies, she doesn't have Avelis on him. So the whole shot doesn't make sense. To say that the Mishnah is saying that Arusa to do the marriage is also for Avelis is not true, because she's not in a state of marriage that she has to mourn for her first husband. So that first teretz is off. The first teretz is off. We tried to fix up the Mishnah in order to fit with the halacha that he's not saying that there's also for an arusa to do erison during the period of mourning, but it didn't work, because in order to do all that surgery, you'd have to say that there's a mourning. If a woman who is in arusa, her husband died, she'd have to do mourning, and it's not true. She doesn't have to. There's no mourning, only after the suin. So the Gemara tries the second teretz. What was the whole kasha again? That how could you say that Avelis, mourning, causes that a woman cannot do erison? It said that shvur shecholbo, and from a chodesh, even shvur shecholbo, it's mutter to do erison. How could it be that a widow is going to be more chomer than that? A widow is allowed to wash during 30 days, and she's allowed to wash her clothing. What else is a mutter? And even and business, all that things she's allowed to do. And Chodesh Av, it's also to do business. From Shvush Chalbo, it's even also to wash. And over there, can't wash clothing, bond the clothing, and over there, it's still mutter to do erison. That's the cash we're back to. The first house didn't work. Ela Tanoi, the Gemara finds about Mchlokas Tanam, what we worked before, that it's mutter to have erison by Tisha B'Av over there, by the Chodesh Av. It's not so simple. Another Brisa says that it's also to do erison even by Chodesh Av. The Tani Merish Chodesh Av about a tinus. Oh, my mountain is gay, and Melissa Molitem, Belivless Lento, Milay Ores, or Melissa. This word here, Milay Ores. Here it says that it's even also to do erison from Rosh Chodesh. So everything's good. I'll leave our mission the way it is, leave everything simple. That Rabbi Yosef says that you're not allowed to do erison during the mourning period. And the kasha was by Rosh Chodesh, you're not allowed to. This time holds, you're not allowed to. So Rabbi Yosef, our Mishnah holds that you're not allowed to do erison by widowhood. Also, he holds you're not allowed to do erison by Rosh Chodesh Av. And the other time holds that it's mutter. Hold that's mutter over here also. But it's not a kasha. The Brisa continues, Shabbos Shechol Tisha B'Av Lias B'Socha, so Asapol L'Chabes, that the week of Tisha B'Av is also to take haircut on longer. It's also from the beginning of the month. That's what when the minhag is. The minhag is to not take a haircut and not even earlier, but the Safra L'Chabes is also from Rosh Chodesh. Anyway, what we find? We find the brisa that says that it's also to have erisin from Rosh Chodesh. But the Gemara doesn't accept that. Means at this point we're happy that we answered the Mishnah, everything's good. But the Ravashi is attacking and saying that he's still sort of attacking in order to make a kasha. Maybe when the Bryson says yes, also to do Erison, maybe he means the same as the Bryson before said, that it's also to make a Suda. But the Erison alone maybe is mutter. But the Gemara says, no, it can't be, because right away it says, the next word says, Mili Ores or Melissa. It says that's also Erison and Nesuin. You want to say Erison only means with a Sudas Erison, and you want to say Nesuin is only with a Sudas Nesuin. Yachi. Melissa, Lenase, Lami, Lemeba, Sudas Nesuin, or Lisa Shapir Dami. You want to say that when it says Nesuin is also us, even without the Suda, only with the Suda? The Gemara says, no, wouldn't mean that. It's understood. If it says yes, also to the Erison and the Suin, we can understand that ourselves. That the Suin means it's also even without any marriage, because without any Suda, because that's the Suda, the Simcha itself. But Erison, that he just gives her the ring, there's no Simcha only if they also make a Suda. So Rabbi Ashi is really attacking the whole idea, even though he has no kasha. He's not asking from a Rashi, he's asking from a Svara, that he's saying that it should be mutter to do Erison. By the Bryce says one side Bryce says so before that's mutter to do Erison from Rosh Chodesh and even Shvur Shecholba, and this Bryce he's not convinced that this Bryce says differently, so he's back to the kasha again. So we're back to the one kasha the Gemara in the beginning. How could it be Rabbi Yossi holds that it's also to do Erison during the 30 days of widowhood? It's mutter by Tisha B'Av from Rosh Chodesh from Shvur Shecholba. It's mutter. How could it be more chomer over here? Elam Ravashi. This is the final teretz. This is where we're going to stop now. Shani Avelus Chadasha, Avelus Ishana, Shani Avelus the Rabbim, Avelus the Yachad. The Gemara first started saying that's a Kal V'chomer. If by the month of Av it's mutter, so surely by personal mourning it's also going to be mutter. And that the Gemara Bashas is not a proof. Even though it's true, as far as some things we do make that Tisha B'Av in issues are more chomer, like it says you're not allowed to wash clothing, and it's also you have to minimize business. But that doesn't make that the mourning inherently is more chomer. And he says that the Svara says that the mourning on a personal loss is more chomer, and therefore he says that 2 points. One is that it's called Avelus Ishana. Avelus Chadash means somebody recently died. That's called Avelus Chadash. Avelus Ishana means the Beis HaMikdash, that is thousands of years already. So even though, of course, the Beis HaMikdash is very chomer, but this aspect of Avelus is not as strong as the Avelus on a personal loss. And the other one is Avelus the Rabbim, Avelus the Yachid, that this is considered Avelus the Rabbim. On one hand, you might say that's more chomer, the more saying, but on the other hand, it's more kal. It's not his own personal thing, it's the whole tzibur. So we're talking mekel more by Chodesh Av than we are by Almana. And that's the halacha we passed like this last answer over here, that it is also to do Erison. It's also to do Erison during Avelus, like our Mishnah says, like Abyosi says, the 30 days is also to do even Erison, and by Tisha B'Av we do permit it. That's the point. That one thing that it says more in the Shulchan Aruch than it says in our Gemara. It says that it's even mutter to do Erison on Tisha B'Av. On Tisha B'Av itself, it's mutter if a person. We don't do Erison again. The engagement, it could be engagement also is mutter because it makes the Gemara talks about Shem Yikadmenu Acher. Somebody else might chap a moist. Which our Gemara doesn't talk about that. The Gemara in Moed Katan over there talks about Chol HaMoed. Over there it says a svara that in order that nobody should grab his intended, the one that he wants to marry. So he's not even do Erison during Chol HaMoed. But Yerushalmi, they bring down, I didn't know, I thought it was a Gemara, but it's not. It's Yerushalmi that says that it's mutter to do Erison even on Tisha B'Av. For the same reason, Shem Yikadmenu Acher. Our Gemara doesn't seem to deal with that. Our Gemara talks about the Simcha. And here it says, so in Halacha, there is a time that we do say that it's also even to do Erison, Kedushin, and that is by Avelus. The 30 days of Avelus is also to do Erison. Maybe the other Gemara that I don't know, but that's what it seems to say over here on your day. That's the end of our sugya today. Just to sum up, if you have a couple of minutes, just to sum up what we learned today. As far as the first sugya was all about halacha kisna mishnah, which is not a specific halacha; it's a general law. Halacha kisna mishnah. The Gemara brought a mishnah in Kalim that spoke about a comb. How many teeth is missing and it's still functional? And we don't pass like that mishnah. The Gemara said because it's not a mishnah, it really should end off the eruption. The next Gemara spoke about, as far as the halacha, we had a machlokas about erisin. Do we permit erisin during the 3 months of Havchana? And also you could talk about 2 years about the child nursing. Do we permit erisin? We paskin, we don't permit erisin either, even though there's no, even erisin to erisin also, I think, I'm not sure. Even erisin to erisin also we're going to answer. And also, you don't count the day of the death, you don't count the day of the marriage. It has to be a full, by Havchana, you have to have a full 90 days besides the day of the death and the day of the marriage. And by the 24 months, besides the birthday of the child and the day of the marriage, you have to have a full 24 months. Halacha l'maisa, if it's negel, so find out what halacha would be. And the next sugya is one sugya that one kasha, one teretz. The kasha was, how come Rav Yossi held ilchas avelos, nothing to do with our sugya. Avelos is the usher for an avel to do erisin, which means kedushin alone without nesuin. So Yossi says that it's usher. That's why paskin. And the most kasha was that by Tisha B'av it's mutter. And halacha, we could throw on the halacha even further than the Gemara asks it. The Gemara says it's mutter during from Rosh Chodesh. It's mutter. More than we are by Mamash Avelus, and by Mamash Avelus, it is also to have erisin during the 30 days. Yashikol Chachem. Thank you.